Babara stood on a ridge looking down at his people. They were spread out, slumped against trees and rocks. Their chests moved up and down heavily, their ribs showed. Their eyes looked empty. They had walked all day and were now even more tired and hungry. The fire he had lit in them earlier was gone. If they showed up at Shumba's doorstep in this state, they would be slaughtered without mercy. He watched them in silence. The wind blew dry dust across his face. He felt rage boil in his gut, not at them, but at what they had become. Warriors reduced to beggars, hunters starving in the open. A few of the apes looked up at him with empty eyes. He saw it in them: defeat, surrender. For a moment, Babara felt the same. He closed his eyes. He remembered the last raid, how Shumba and his lions had destroyed them, how they had run like cowards. He could still hear the roar. He could still see the fire. He had promised them they would return, that they would take revenge. But how? Look at them. They couldn't even walk straight. Their bellies twisted in hunger, their throats dry. They would die before they got to Shumba. You are watching the Tales of the Savannah. Subscribe and be part of the tribe. Now let's get back to the story. He clenched his jaw. He knew why Shumba had been chosen by the gods. He knew why Naraka had blessed him. Shumba was strong, merciless when he needed to be, orderly. He had been sanctioned to stop them, to punish them for the raids, for the blood spilled. Babara's hands trembled. He felt something like guilt for half a breath. But then it was gone. What was he supposed to do? Let his people starve to death? Watch them waste away on the ground? No. He was their leader. His job was to make sure they saw another day. He opened his eyes. In the distance, smoke curled from huts. A village, small, peaceful, perfect. He knew it well. He turned back to his apes. They watched him, too tired to hope. Babara spoke low, firm. I know you're hungry. I know you're weak. They looked down. Shame. Fear. We can't beat Shumba while we're dying. We need food. We need water. We need strength. They didn't answer. Babara felt the weight of his next words. That village there, he pointed with a claw, has what we need. Food, water, beer, grain. Enough to make us strong again. Silence. He inhaled deeply. This is the way of the apes. We take, we survive. We live another day. I will not let you die out here like wounded animals. He paused. Shumba may have his gods, but I have you, and I will do what it takes to keep you alive. For a moment, no one spoke. Then one ape let out a low growl. Another thumped his chest. A rumble passed through the group. Their eyes changed. Hunger was replaced with fire. Babara's voice dropped to a whisper. Go! And they did. They exploded from the trees in a stampede. The village below heard them coming. The ground shook. Mothers grabbed babies and ran. Pots fell from fires. Chickens squawked in terror. The apes fell on them like a storm. They tore through homes, grabbed cooking pots straight from the flames, stuffed food into their mouths, even as it burned their fingers. They drank water straight from the jugs. They crashed into storage rooms, broke open grain sacks. Babara walked among them. He watched an old man plead for mercy before being knocked aside. He watched his apes gulp water like mad men. He watched them chew meat they didn't cook. He didn't smile. He didn't laugh. He felt nothing. But he knew this was necessary. He walked to a barrel of beer meant for some ceremony. He tore it open with his claws. Foam spilled over his hands. He drank deeply. Today they would eat. Today they would drink. Today they would live. Tomorrow they would find another village and take what they needed again. They would keep doing this until they were strong enough to reach Shumba's doorstep. Because this was the way of the apes. Live, no matter the cost. The heavens felt empty. The corridors were quiet, cold. But behind the grand doors in private villas, the gods were getting ready. They had spoken. They had challenged. Now they would have to fight, in less than 7 days. A battle worthy of God himself. In one chamber, Morningstar and the snake goddess sat together after their training. They were both breathing hard, resting before the final days of preparation. "Why did you insist I challenge her?" she snapped, glaring at him. Morningstar didn't answer at first. He walked in circles, catching his breath. Then he stopped in front of her. "Because they respect power," he said. His voice was low, firm. "They respect courage. If you stay quiet, they will forget you. If you speak up, they will fear you. That's how it works. Imagine if the hunter goddess had challenged you instead." She looked down at the floor. Her fingers drummed on her knee. "She scares me," she whispered. "She fears you too," he said. "But you? You've been hiding behind my name for a very long time." She looked up, anger flashing in her eyes. "You think you know me?" Morningstar laughed once, short, cold. "I know you better than you know yourself. I know you want the spotlight. You want them to see you. All of you. Don't lie." Her mouth opened, then closed. She clenched her jaw. He watched her for a moment before speaking. "Do you know why your name will never be forgotten?" he asked. She looked at him, curious. "The Garden of Eden," he continued. "That story is everywhere. In every book, every teaching, forever. Even when they curse you, they remember you. You're the beginning of mankind in their eyes." She frowned. "That wasn't me. That was you. You used my image." He smiled, shaking his head. "That doesn't matter. It's your image they speak of. Your form, your name, don't you see? That is power, snake goddess. Real power." She was silent, thinking. "You think you have a people now because..." "What? Because you rule them?" "No," he said. "You have a people because you dared to have them. You made a plan. You acted. You didn't wait for permission." She looked at him sharply. "You're the one who told me to write that book," she snapped, eyes flashing. "Don't ever say I told you to do this or I made you do that. Don't you dare let anyone else hear you say that," he warned, voice low and hard. "Own your story. Every part of it, without apology. Look at you now. You have your followers, a seat at every important table, but you are still hiding behind my name." "But he almost ended my life," the snake goddess said quietly. "Who? The old man?" Morningstar let out a low laugh. "Yet here you are, still breathing." She glared at him. He leaned forward, eyes sharp. "If he truly wanted you gone, you would be gone. Same with me. Don't be a fool. We're still here because he allows it." "You're cruel," she said quietly. "No," he said. He smiled, his voice softer. "I'm honest. This is your chance, snake goddess, not just to fight, but to own who you are." She turned her head away, biting back words. "Do you think you can win against Hades?" she asked finally. Morningstar smiled, slow. "Winning isn't the point," he said. "It's about standing there, facing something that terrifies everyone else, letting them see you're not afraid to try. But make no mistake, snake goddess. I am fighting to win." She felt motivated. "Do you think I can beat the hunter goddess?" He leaned forward, his eyes locked on hers. "You don't have a choice, you must. Imagine it. Imagine standing over her. Imagine the silence in the room when you win. They will write songs about you." She exhaled, trembling. "I want that," she whispered. "Then get up," he said, voice hard again. "No more talk, no more pity, no more doubt." She stood, slowly. Her eyes were different now, hungry. "Good," Morningstar said. He stepped back. "Again." She roared, her body shifting, growing, scales glinting. A seven-headed serpent towered in the room. They clashed, hard, loud, beautiful. And somewhere in the heavens, the god of the universe watched, every villa and every fight, his eyes gleaming. He lived for this. The countdown had begun. The snake people had been busy. Their village was now complete. It looked magnificent. Everywhere there were smiles, pride, hope. When Ziva arrived, he watched them all quietly. He didn't smile much these days, but when he saw Amina, he managed one. She was standing inside their chambers, rounding with child, her hands on her stomach, humming softly. She was radiant. He came up behind her and pressed a wrapped bundle into her hands. "I brought you some underwater seaweed soup," he said. She blinked at it. He smirked. "Our healers say it helps women in your condition." She laughed. "My condition? What condition is that?" She teased him, bumping him with her hip. She was busy fitting on a gown, turning side to side in the mirror. "Is there an occasion you're dressing up for?" he asked, voice low. She gave him a look. "Come on, Jiva. You know it's Lulenga and Mami Wata's wedding soon." She nearly sang the words. "We have to look perfect. We must dress to impress." Her eyes sparkled. She gestured at the dress. "I'm thinking pearls. Gold. Nothing less. You know she won't accept anything less." Amina beamed so hard her cheeks hurt. But Ziva's eyes darkened. He looked away. He didn't want to think about the wedding. He had lost himself in work the last months. Anything to keep from imagining it. He didn't want to see them. Didn't want to see how happy they might be. He hoped they were fighting. He hoped they'd cancel the wedding. But no. It was happening. And his wife? She was excited. So excited she could burst. Amina turned, fixing her gown in the mirror. "You must get your measurements done too, darling," she insisted. "We need matching outfits. It's our first official event as a married couple. Can you believe it?" He didn't answer right away. In truth, he wanted no outfit, no spectacle, just his crown. He was king. That was enough. But Amina didn't even notice his silence. She was babbling happily, lost in planning. "Why didn't Mami Wata come to our wedding, Jiva?" she asked suddenly. "Why didn't you invite her? Should I apologize when I see her? Say, 'I'm sorry you didn't get an invitation'? Do you think she even minds?" Her voice was high with excitement, full of breathless questions. She didn't see the way Ziva's jaw tightened. He didn't want to talk about Mami Wata or Lulenga. Amina went on without pause. "What are the merfolk customs anyway? Will there be songs, dances, gifts? What do they eat? How do they greet each other? Do you think I should practice?" Ziva held up a hand. "I didn't come here to talk about Mami Wata," he said quietly. His voice was sharp but calm, dangerous calm. Amina blinked. Then she smiled, shaking her head. "I'm sorry. I'm just so excited." He watched her, eyes dark, lips tight. "Yes," he said at last. "I see that." She didn't see the shadows in his eyes. She didn't see how his hands clenched at his sides. She clapped. "Good. Now, measurements. Measure him." One of her maids scurried forward with a strip of woven sea plant. Ziva rolled his eyes. "I don't want anything new. I'll wear my crown. That's enough." Amina gasped dramatically. "It is not enough, my husband. This is going to be the event of the century. We will match. Measure him." The maid carefully measured his arms. Ziva didn't fight it, but his eyes were somewhere else. He didn't want to go to this wedding. He didn't want to see them together. And in the back of his mind, he was already planning how drunk he'd need to be just to get through the ceremony. In the underwater realm, Mami Wata was shouting instructions left and right. "Move those coral arrangements. No, not there. Over there. The flowers need to float, not sink." She was determined the wedding would be perfect. Lulenga just watched her with amusement. "Mummy," he said gently, "it doesn't have to be that grand. My castle is fine." She stopped, hands on her hips. "Fine?" she scoffed. "It's adequate, serviceable. But mine has pearls, gold everywhere, dancing dolphins." He raised an eyebrow. "We're getting married here," he said firmly. She blinked. "But why? Mine castle is better." "I know it is," he admitted, smiling, "but this is my home, our home now." She crossed her arms, pretending to pout. "Humph, fine, but I'm changing everything." "Go ahead," he laughed. "Make it yours." And so she did. Coral walls turned shining pink and white. Gold shells lined the aisle. Magical jellyfish lanterns bobbed in the water, emitting soft light. Lulenga just nodded at every new demand. "Yes, dear. Wonderful idea." Meanwhile, Kitapo sat watching them, a bit sullen. Mwamba sat beside her, noticing. "What's wrong, princess?" he asked gently. She sighed. "Mwamba. Why did Tuhaka never write me? It's been months." Mwamba froze. He cleared his throat. He's a king. Very busy." She glared at him. "He can't even send a note to say hello?" He winced. "Well, he's probably ruling things." Kitapo narrowed her eyes. "I think I scared him off," she said flatly. Mwamba blinked. "Scared him?" "Yes. I probably made him think I was too much. Maybe I shouldn't have reprimanded him. Maybe I was too direct. Maybe he didn't like it." "Ugh!" Mwamba held up his hands. "You could have written first." She stared at him like he had grown two heads. "Me? Write first." "Mwamba, absolutely not." He chuckled softly. Kitapo threw her hands up. "Maybe I ruined it. Maybe I'll just marry a frog, or a lizard, or a snake. Who knows?" Mwamba coughed to hide a laugh. She whined, "Ugh, even father has a match now. Father. And he's not even that handsome or funny." He snorted. She gave him a warning glare. He cleared his throat, serious again. "He's a fool," Mwamba said finally. Kitapo blinked. Then she smiled sadly. "Yes, he is a fool." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Mwamba remembered. "By the way, he's invited to the wedding. He accepted. So, you'll see him soon." Kitapo froze. Her eyes went wide. "What? Why didn't you tell me this before?" Mwamba shrugged helplessly. "I just remembered." She screamed. She jumped up so fast she knocked over the stool she was sitting on. "I have to change the design of my dress. They're already sewing it. But now I need something that says I've moved on. I don't need you." She ran off, shouting orders. Mwamba just sat there shaking his head, laughing. He turned to see Mamiwata and Lulenga standing close together, talking quietly, planning their decorations. Lulenga looked at Mwamba with a pleading eye that screamed, "Help me," but he still nodded. "Yes, dear. Wonderful idea. Anything you want." Mwamba shook his head again, laughing. Mwamba had told Lulenga once, quietly, man to man, "There will be plenty of time to say no, my friend. But the wedding, that is a woman's pride and joy. Let her have everything she wants. Don't fight it. If you start saying no too early, it will be hard to say no later. Choose your battles wisely." And Lulenga had remembered. He had listened. He just nodded at every demand, every new idea Mamiwata had. He didn't argue. He didn't question. "Whatever you want," he'd say, and Mwamba watched it all, smiling. He shook his head in quiet amusement. Maybe, Mwamba thought, Lulenga wasn't just a good learner. Maybe he was a good teacher too. Sekai walked into the room where her mother Zanele and her older sister Anita sat close together. They were always like that, whispering secrets, heads pressed in tight, like the world outside didn't matter. But today, something was different. They looked excited. Their eyes were shining, smiles playing on their lips. Sekai stood there, holding the wet rag she had used to scrub the floors. She wiped her brow. "Mother, I'm done," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I washed the clothes, ironed them, fed the chickens, cleaned the whole homestead. Can I go now, please?" She had been begging for days to visit her aunt's place. Her mother had said, "Finish your chores first." Today, Zanele just looked at her. Her face was hard to read, like always. Sekai never really knew which mother she would get. Some days Zanele was kind, even playful. Other days she was cold and silent, making Sekai work twice as hard for half a nod of approval. But today she seemed light, happy. Maybe because Anita was home. Anita was the eldest, the pride of the family, married to a wealthy man in the next village over. She always visited, always sat with Mother for hours, whispering and laughing about things Sekai was never told. Sekai sometimes wondered what they talked about. She'd ask. Mother would just say, "Grown folk things, not for you." Grandmother was the same way, secretive, stern. Sekai swallowed, standing there in the doorway. "Okay, Sekai, Zanele finally said, surprising her. Go on, we'll see you in 2 days then. Sekai blinked. That was it? That easy? She tried to hide her grin. Thank you, Mother. Zanele just waved her off. Anita smiled, but there was something in her eyes, something Sekai couldn't read. Sekai didn't think much of it. She was too excited. She ran off to pack. But what Sekai didn't know, what no one had ever told her, was that their family wasn't normal. They weren't just respected in the village, they were feared. Old people still whispered about them, about the women in that family, about the things they could do, about the power they had. Sekai didn't know, but she was going to find out, and she would learn in the harshest way possible. Akina was stuffing a few things into her woven bag while keeping one eye on Jabali, who was sitting on a low stool outside, sharpening his old axe. Jabali, please feed the chickens. The other one just hatched yesterday, don't forget. I don't want to see the chicks dead. Yes, dear, he mumbled, his eyes fixed on the axe blade, scraping it back and forth. Akina watched him. Jabali, she snapped. He jumped a little. Huh? Did you hear me? Feed the chickens, don't forget. Yes, yes, I heard, he repeated quickly. She narrowed her eyes. You always say yes, yes. Then you forget. Last time you didn't feed them and they nearly starved. Even the rooster looked like he was about to file a complaint. Jabali stifled a laugh. I won't forget. Chipo, standing by the door with her own small bundle, giggled. Promise on the rooster's life, father. Jabali pretended to look solemn. I promise on the rooster's very life. Akina smirked, but then turned serious. She tied her bundle tighter. So, what time are you two coming back? Jabali asked, trying to sound casual. Akina stopped. She raised an eyebrow. Why? He shrugged, still not meeting her eyes. No reason, just asking. She put her hands on her hips. Jabali. Akina. Why? He cleared his throat. Well, last time you came back early in the morning, I need to know if, you know, I should expect you early or late. Chipo was watching them like it was the best drama she'd ever seen. Akina's eyes narrowed even more. What exactly do you plan on doing while we're gone that needs such exact timing? Jabali tried to look innocent. Nothing. Just want to plan my day is all. Chipo snorted. Akina walked right up to him. She was close enough that he couldn't avoid her stare. Jabali, we'll come back in 2 days, maybe afternoon, maybe evening, maybe when you least expect it. Jabali blinked. That's very vague. That's the idea, Akina said sweetly. She leaned in and pecked him on the cheek. Chipo cackled, and just like that they started walking away. Jabali and Sekai lay in the dark room. The night was quiet. They had spent hours tangled together, whispering, kissing, touching. Now they were silent, breathing slow. Akina and Chipo were gone. They had left in the afternoon to see Nyala. Nyala wanted to check Chipo again, make sure the spirit was truly gone. She said the work wasn't done yet, so they'd left, and Jabali had wasted no time. He'd let Sekai in, just like they'd planned. Now it was late, very late. The moon hung high. Jabali was sound asleep, snoring lightly. Sekai lay next to him, eyes half closed, relaxed. She felt safe here, pressed against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. But far away, in the shadows of the village, women were gathering under the trees. Their leader, Mother Superior, stood in the middle. She looked around at their serious faces. Akina and Chipo must receive their punishments now, she said, voice like cold iron. They broke the sacred law. The women nodded, angry. How do you want to begin? Zanele asked. Mother Superior smiled, cruel. Bad dreams are always a good place to start. Anita closed her eyes. She felt, listening to the beat of the night. How many are inside? Mother Superior asked. Anita's brow furrowed. 3, she whispered. 3 heartbeats. 2 strong, 1 small. Mother Superior's mouth curled up. Good, all in one room. That girl still sleeps with them. and then they began to chant, low and humming, words old as the soil, words of power. Inside the hut, Sekai's breath hitched. At first it was small, like a bad feeling in her gut. Then the dream took over. Sekai fell into darkness. At first, there was only the sound of wind howling in her ears. Cold, biting wind that cut into her skin like knives. She was alone on a barren plain. The ground was cracked and smoking. She tried to run, but her legs felt heavy, like they were buried in mud. Every step was an effort. Then she heard the whispers, voices calling her Akina from everywhere and nowhere, mocking, cackling, accusing, Akina, murderer, betrayer, thief of blood. She was running now, through a forest, dark, choked with vines. Branches tore at her skin. Behind her was something huge, snapping jaws, growling. She ran, faster, heart pounding, but the ground fell away. She screamed as she fell into a pit. It was full of snakes, slithering, wrapping around her arms, her legs, biting her, poison burning in her blood. She thrashed, and now she was in water. It was black, thick, full of hands grabbing her ankles, pulling her down. She screamed, bubbles choking her throat. And when she looked up, Jabali was there. But he was laughing, pointing. He turned away. She screamed for him, sobbing, but he walked off into the dark. No one can help you. This is your doing, the voices chanted. Your fault, your sin. Now she was in her family's home, but everything was wrong. The walls were covered in strange symbols drawn in blood. The floor was alive, pulsing like raw flesh. Her mother stood in the corner, but her eyes were empty sockets that wept black tears. "Why did you bring this curse to us?" her mother asked, voice hollow and distant. Sekai tried to run to her, but the floor swallowed her feet, dragging her down. She felt herself sinking into the living flesh of the house. She fought, screamed, but it was no use. The walls closed in, suffocating her. She screamed for help, for Jabali, for anyone. But there was no answer. All she could hear was the chanting, the cruel, relentless chanting. Outside the dream, Sekai thrashed violently on the mat, sweat pouring off her body. Her fingers clawed at the floor. She foamed slightly at the mouth. She let out guttural, hoarse screams that sounded inhuman. Jabali lay next to her, motionless, his breathing slow and deep, as if in the most peaceful sleep. No matter how loudly she screamed, he did not stir. Her eyes flew open at last. She gasped for air. "Jabali! Jabali!" she cried, shaking him hard. But Jabali didn't move, didn't open his eyes, didn't even flinch when she slapped him. Sekai felt her heart race with terror. She looked around the dark room. It felt like a prison. She was trapped, alone. Outside, the witches kept chanting. Their voices rolled like thunder in the earth, owls hooting, hyenas laughing, snakes hissing. Their laughter filled the room. "Witch! Witch!" they chanted. Voices outside the walls, faces in the window, pressed against the dark. She covered her ears. She rocked back and forth, whispering prayers, but the sounds wouldn't stop. She smelled smoke, but there was no fire. She felt cold hands on her neck, but no one was there. Her breathing hitched. She felt like she was dying, alone. Mother Superior watched from the woods, eyes glinting. "Enough," she finally said. The chanting stopped. The witches stood, silent. "Phase 1 is done," Mother Superior said. "This is only the beginning." They slipped away into the dark. Inside the hut, Sekai gasped at the silence. Her eyes flew open. Her heart thundered. "Jabali!" No answer. She slapped his face again. Nothing. He snored, deep, heavy, bewitched. Tears flooded her eyes. She heard the owls outside, hyenas laughing in the distance, snakes slithering on the floor, or was it just her mind? She pressed herself to the corner of the room, arms around her knees, rocking back and forth, sobbing, praying for dawn, because only the sunrise would save her from this nightmare. And that, my dear tribe, brings us to the end of yet another episode in our Mermaids, Lion People and Witches series. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. In this week's episode, Babara looks at his people, thin, tired, broken. They will never make it to Shumba in this state. And so, with a heavy heart and sharpened resolve, he does what he must. He sanctions a raid. The apes move like shadows, fast and focused, taking what they need to survive. After all, this is the way of the apes. Live to see another day. Up in the heavens, silence roams the corridors. The gods are not idle. They hide in their castles preparing. Morningstar and the snake goddess spar, blades and fangs clashing, their words sharper still. Morningstar warns her, she is still hiding behind his name. It's time to own her truth, speak her story without apology. She asks if she can win against the hunter goddess. You have no choice, he replies. And far above them, the god of the universe watches. He smiles to himself. These games will be epic. In the Snake People's village, things have changed. Buildings rise, streets take shape. The Snake People have finally settled. Amina is giddy about Lulenga and Mamiwata's upcoming wedding. Ziva, on the other hand, dreads it. He doesn't want to see them happy. He wonders how drunk he'll need to be to survive the spectacle. Deep under the waters, Mamiwata and Lulenga stand in his castle, planning the ceremony. Mamiwata wants it held at her own opulent palace, but Lulenga smiles and says, "This is our home now. Do what you wish, decorate it your way. She will make magic of it." Nearby, Kitapo wrestles with questions. Why hasn't Tuhaka written her? Why hasn't he come? Mwamba tells her Tuhaka has been invited for the wedding, and he accepted. He is coming. Back in Makuru village, Zanele and Anita whisper behind closed doors. Sekai is finally allowed to visit her aunt for 2 days. But we, dear tribe, know better. That's not where she's going. Akina and Chipo head toward Nyala's, but while Sekai sleeps, the witches descend. She is not their target, but fate has a cruel sense of humor. Wrong place, wrong time. Her dreams become nightmares, snakes slithering across the walls, blood-written messages, shadows with hands, and laughter. So much laughter. Owls screech, hyenas howl, the witches dance in the dark. She survives the night, but something inside her does not. What will happen next, we'll just have to wait and see. Until then, stay wild, stay curious, and stay ready for what's to come. A massive shout out to Angel, a friend of the channel and a monthly contributor, who gave a $10 super thanks. Your comment left me smiling. I could feel your passion, imagination, and heart in every word. Knowing you play the episodes on repeat humbled me beyond words. Thank you, Angel, as you are truly part of the heartbeat of this tribe. And to at Toxic Avenger 100, a friend of the channel who gave a $5 super thanks, your message touched me deeply. You shared that you've been going through chemotherapy, and yet, in the midst of everything, you found peace, joy, and comfort in this little world we've created together. I want you to know, you're not alone. You are in our prayers. The entire tribe is holding space for you, sending strength, love, and light your way. Thank you for your bravery, your vulnerability, and for reminding us why storytelling truly matters. To everyone who watches, comments, shares, and supports, thank you. You are seen, you are appreciated, and you are the reason I keep telling these stories. Want to support the channel and become an even bigger part of our tribe? You can join for as little as the cost of a coffee each month. Your support helps me continue creating the content you love, but of course, just having you here is already more than enough. Thank you for being part of this journey. A warm and heartfelt thank you to all the amazing tribe members who have chosen to join and support this incredible journey. Your belief in this channel means the world to me, and I'm so glad to have you along for the ride. And as always, thank you for watching our story, and we hope you enjoyed it. What lessons did you draw from this story? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and be part of the tribe. Thank you for watching The Tales of the Savannah. We will see you next time in the Savannah.